Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for checking out the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to replace the water line that goes from the ice maker down to the water fill valve, or the water inlet solenoid if you want to get technical. I'm looking underneath the bottom there because I wanted to see what was going on. Essentially, this customer had called and said, hey, my fridge is leaking from the bottom and it's getting all over the floor. So the first thing I did was look down below. I saw that there was a puddle of water, which you're going to see me put the towel on and dry now.
Only leaking.
And I was wondering, where is this water coming from? So I pulled the fridge out and I start looking, and what do I see? I see that the water line going to the ice maker is cracked. Oh goodness, you see that? Yeah, this fridge is, I believe, 35 years old, at least according to the customer. And that plastic water line went ahead and it's all cracked. You know, it looks like a glow stick actually. That's what I told the customer, because I went and brought them that little piece during the cut, which you'll see in a minute here. So I went and showed them that little piece that was cracked. I said, hey, your water line's cracked. Do you want me to replace it? Because that's what's needed. They said, yeah, go ahead. So then I went, got some water line, and you're gonna see me replace it right now. It's not too bad of a job. Essentially all you have to do is unscrew the old one as it's mounted with some mounting points here. I'm just using a 1/4 inch bit and unscrewing all the screws. Yep, one by one, pulling it out. On these older fridges, it's quite easy to replace these lines. As you can see, it runs along the backside, whereas a lot of the newer fridges, you might see them run on the inside, like through the insulation and all. I did notice that there was this like metal insert, which is, I would assume, is for reinforcement, as there's a clamp that you saw me loosen that goes right there, that tightens that grommet that goes into the ice maker fill tube from this water line. So basically what I end up doing right now is I cut open this tube and I remove it so that way I can insert it into the new one. Yeah, I know I'm using this scraper tool. I misplaced my utility knife, so I'm gonna have to get a new one, but hey, you know, whatever works. If it works, it works. Sometimes you gotta improvise, adapt, overcome, do whatever you gotta do to get the job done the right way. Yep, FixRite. Yeah, because when I initially found that the water line was broken, I thought, oh, you know, maybe I can just hook it back up, but I quickly realized how brittle and cracked it was. So I said, yeah, you're gonna need a whole new line here. So yeah, you're gonna see me struggle a little bit getting this in. It's pressure fit or friction fit, so it takes quite a bit of pressure to get it in there. What I ended up doing is getting my needle nose pliers, kind of flaring it out just a little bit, just enough to get it started. And then once I got it started, I ended up using my cutters or my dikes to push it in. I know I did start pushing it on the cabinet there, and then I said, you know what? Yeah, let me stop doing that. Just in case I didn't want to mar it or scratch it. So I said, you know what, this isn't my house, this is the customer's house. And so I went ahead and got the cutters there, started using them. I know I almost put it on the floor too for some resistance or some leverage, and then I said, no, you know what, let me just do it on my knee here. So you can see it's going in. It might have been a little bit easier with some kind of like lube or oil or something, but I didn't want to introduce any extra contaminants into the water supply that didn't need to be in there, because of course the customer is going to be getting ice from this machine and using it. So yeah, I got that in, and I'm putting the clamp on before, so that way I don't have to slide it on over. I'm putting the hose in, pushing it all the way up until it stops, and then I'm going to put the clamp back on. This clamp is pretty much like an automotive clamp, where it's very, very useful. I like these clamps, honestly. There's some clamps that are purely like resistance or like a single use, Whereas I prefer these automotive type ones where you can loosen it, unloosen it as many times as you need to. And now you're going to see me put on the clamps, or putting on these mounting brackets. I'll be honest with you, I accidentally put them in backwards, and then I shortly realized that. Yep, and dropped that one. Oh, don't worry, I'm gonna get that later on. You'll see. But yeah, I put on these first few backwards. It doesn't really matter. I could have probably left it, but once I realized, I said, you know what? No, this channel, it's FixRite, and we're gonna do it right. So yeah, I ended up putting those on wrong, and then realizing it, and then unscrewing it, putting them on the right way. So, because you can see that indentation on the back of the fridge where the water line runs, and it makes sense that you'd have the bracket follow the water line, being more pushed in. Yeah, also what I like to do with that Milwaukee screw gun is I like to take the choke and basically turn it all the way pretty close to low. I definitely don't want it up high near the drill function, because see, I think at this point is when I realized it was backwards. You saw me there put it on and then take it off. I said, oh, yep, went ahead and put that one on backwards. So anyway, I realized, and that's part of this job, and honestly part of life, is like sometimes you're going to do things and you're going to realize that there's a better way to do it, or maybe you did it backwards, or it's like, yeah, it'll still work, but why not just go ahead and make it right? So yeah, I end up going ahead and going back to the previous 2 or 3 that I did and flipping them around just so it's legit and it's fixed right. But yeah, you can see there the choke is at about 6 or 7, and I like it to be low when I'm going into softer materials like plastic, or like this cabinet of this refrigerator, because it's not like you're going into sheet metal, or you're not going into a nut, and you don't want to screw it in too hard and then end up stripping the threads or stripping the little bit that it has to grab onto. So that's a little pro tip there. If you do have some kind of a screw gun that has a chock or a choke, go ahead and turn it down, when you're going into things, because it's very easy to strip things. I've been realizing that as I've grown as a technician, and as I have worked on automobiles and appliances and things like that, it's really easy to strip things. And so it's good to under tighten and then slowly tighten and snug up than it is to just go right in, like with an impact. I see some other guys doing this kind of work and they use an impact, and yes, I get it, you can feather it, you can just tap the trigger, but at the same time, it's like, it's really easy to accidentally over tighten something and strip it out. So personally, I like this Milwaukee screw gun, and I like it mostly because it's light, portable, and it has that chock on it, or the choke, sorry, that I can turn up and turn down depending on how much I need it. So yeah, I'm basically cutting the tube to size now. I was remembering how much of like a loop that the other one had, and I cut it roughly at the same. Now I'm pushing out the old one, because when you saw at the beginning, the tube was cracked pretty much flush, and I noticed that the other portion of it was in here. So now I'm trying to pick it out so that I can push in the new tube. And you want to be kind of gentle, because all this stuff is plastic. Yep, there you go, you saw it pop out. And yeah, you want to be kind of gentle. You don't want to put too much force on it or scrape it too much, because this new tube is going in there, and it's just like a friction fit, pressure fit. As you screw it in, it puts more pressure on that tubing, and that's all that's holding the water to be tight. So yeah, I pushed the fridge a little bit more forward just to give me some more room. I screw it in there. I don't quite get it in the frame, but I'm sure you guys can imagine. You just, at least for me, I take the tube, I push it through that plastic nut as high up as it can go, and then I start screwing. And I screw it pretty tight as I can with my hand, roughly. Get it nice and snug. I don't use any tools or anything. And then I clean up the area just to make it nice and clean. Alright guys, thanks for checking this out. I appreciate you. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.